Hey, everybody, and welcome to Common Good Conversations, a podcast creating deeper narratives at the intersection of faith and politics for the common good in West Michigan. My name is Nick Brock, and joining me is Shawn Skinner.
How are we doing this morning?
I'm doing good. How are you, Shawn?
We're doing good.
Very good. Hey, Shawn, we've got a special episode here because on Sunday, March 24 at Park Theater in Holland, Michigan, from 6 to 8 p.m., we are doing this podcast live in front of an audience.
Real people.
Yeah. Well, you know, real people. We're supposed to have people there. I don't know how many people are going to show up, but it's going to be a live podcast recording.
Nice. I wonder if we're going to have more people there than any show that I've ever done with any of my bands, as far as live goes.
How many people have you had at your live shows?
Oh, thousands.
Yeah, minus a couple zeros.
Yeah, and a few decibels.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many people have actually had it. I've done a couple festivals where there were quite a few people, but a couple hundred probably.
Couple hundred?
Yeah, would be the most I've probably played in front of at any one time.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. So let's just tell the listener here. Tell the listener about your musical experience, the band, what you do.
Oh, geez. Well, currently I'm in a band that's semi-retired right now. Brian, who is our lead singer and lead guitarist, who was part of a detective for Grand Rapids GRPD, retired last year, so he moved down to Florida. So we are limited to just doing shows on, day before Thanksgiving or so when he comes back up for the holidays, and then we go play the log cabin here in Grand Rapids. But prior than that, you've known for years that I'm a metalhead.
Yep.
So
metalhead.
Early 2000s, I was in numerous death metal bands that played around the area. Called Heresy and Viral Mentality. But those are all original death metal bands and everything. Always a lot of fun, but I miss those days.
But you played what instrument?
I played guitar in most of all those. The band that I'm currently in now, Rock the Covers, I play bass in, mainly because nobody ever wants to play bass. And I go, I just want to play. But
those audience that you play in front of at the log cabin, what do they get? Like, they 50 people? I mean, because it's a bar, it's a public bar, so you guys are providing the entertainment.
Yeah, I'd say they fit 50 to 75 people in that bar, up to 90, I think, without the fire marshal having to come. So usually when we've played there, it's been pretty packed out. But I think part of that's because of the fact that we're so limited in how many times we play. When we decide to play, when we have a show, people want to come see it because they're not going to see it for another year, And
so there's a following of what's the name of the current band?
It's Rock the Covers. It's a cover band, but it also has members from the band Flood 5 and also members from the band Blood Life, which Blood Life was a Christian metal band. And Fled 5 was actually started like late 90s, like 99, I believe, 98. And the majority of them were all GRPD cops. So that's why they fled 5 of them. They're all officers. And everything. So they've got a big base from the previous, and those are all original acts too.
Okay.
But as time goes on and everything, you start just wanting to play a little bit more and not do so much the original thing where you're getting paid $100 for a show and you spend, the entire day packing your gear up, driving to the show, setting your stuff up, sitting there for 3 hours while other bands play, get up there, do your half hour to an hour set, pack it all back up, leave at 3:00 in the morning. To do it, you have to love music.
Yeah, that's some dedication.
In a way, it's kind of like doing the podcast and politics and stuff. If you're in it, you got to like doing it, because if it will take up a ton of time altogether, from practice to learning songs to having to deal with people that maybe you don't want to deal with on a regular basis.
Who do you want to deal with? Surely not me. Surely.
Just for the record, everybody in the band I love dealing with. I'm just saying, sometimes when you're in bands, there's other players that's in the band that may be stubborn, pig-headed, drunk, and has anger management issues that you just don't want to deal with after they've been, slugging Bud Lights all night or something.
Slugging Bud Lights. Well, that's not happening here for sure. We might be slugging. I don't know,
whiskey or coffee this morning.
Yeah, I've got my Red Bull in hand too. So
yeah, how did this switch around? Usually, I've got a Red Bull, you've got a coffee. Now I've got a coffee, you got a Red Bull. How did this come full circle?
I went to the gym this morning. So
rub it in.
I went to the gym this morning. Got a good 45-minute workout in. And I can't drink coffee right before. It just takes too long. So I stop at the gas station, get a Red Bull, and I grabbed another one on the way here because I'm not going to go from a Red Bull to a coffee. If I'm going to go with cold caffeine and something carbonated, I'm going to keep it that way. So
gotcha. I see that
12-ounce Red Bull, sugar-free. Sugar-free.
I was gonna say I can't necessarily do sugar-free. I've done it when I was doing my diet like a couple months ago, which I've totally fallen off the wagon for. Sugar-free wasn't too bad, but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Like Diet Coke compared to Coke. It's not the same.
Yeah. But so clearly though, like you're not a newbie to being on stage in front of people. If we do have people at this event, and we hope to have plenty of people at this event.
I hope we have them.
Because this podcast episode is a promo for that event, and we just want to dig into a bit here about why Shawn and I are doing this podcast. Did I already mention the special guest? I don't think I did.
No, we got two special guests, one musical guest, and then I believe Christian, who we have interviewed before.
Yeah, Christian Kleinjans. He will be our main interview guest. So, as many of you may know who follow this podcast, Christian will be in a special election in May. So that election is just down the pipeline, and so we want to bring Christian back on and talk to him a little bit more about his campaign, because it's like one of the first and most important campaigns or elections in Ottawa County when it comes to Ottawa Impact and what's going on there. So then. The musical guest would be a good friend of mine and a Vote Common Good, Daniel Dietrich. He has some new music coming out, so he'll open up the show with some music, and then he'll serenade us a bit at the end of the show. And then I guess finally what I would say about that is, so Park Theater, excuse me, is a really great venue. Have you been to Park Theater?
I have not.
All right. Vote Common Good, we've done a ton of events at the theater, and what I like about it most is, I don't know, it's just it's a big space. It holds up to like 350 people. It's got this balcony, but you can also, so there will be a cash bar there, so people can come to the event, grab a drink or two, and then they can also get some pizza. So they have like pizza and I think soft pretzels there. Though I cannot vouch for those two items because I haven't had those.
So a cash bar. So are we talking soda? Or can you get yourself an adult beverage as well?
Yeah, let me be clear. There are alcoholic beverages available for sale.
Just making sure, because I might have to have at least one beer with me during the interview, maybe.
On stage.
Just a sip.
Okay. Just
you're in front of people. We need to get a little loosed up,
Liquid courage.
Liquid courage, yeah. About 4 or 5 shots, and let's go do an interview.
Oh my god! I'm gonna have to keep an eye on you then. Yeah. So that'll be the gig.
Yeah. So would we, by chance, want to take any email questions for Christian? If anybody wants to send in any questions that they would like us to ask, or are we going to set up a microphone there live in case somebody from the audience wants to pop up and ask a question, or are we not doing that this time around? That's a great
question. So what I would love for people to do is to send questions ahead of time. So send questions ahead of time to votecommongood.wm@gmail with maybe a subject header of live event, and we can curate those questions. Because what I found previously is that when you do kind of this open mic situation for people, it tends to get a little chaotic, and a lot of the questions, there's just not enough time to get all the questions asked. So we can build in some of those questions if people are asking a lot of the same things.
Gotcha.
So that's a good question. So I'll be putting that on the Facebook page and letting people know about that.
Sounds good.
All right. So
what time is it?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Okay.
6 p.m. to 8.
Gotcha.
So be there, be square. We'll be creating a Facebook event page for that. So you'll be able to.
Which this will probably be on after you send it. This will be on that Facebook.
Oh yeah, I'm going to send a nice little link on that page for people to check out this little piece, because here's the important piece here. So in kind of framing up the podcast and why we're doing this live, I thought it was just like really interesting to let people know exactly like why you and I are doing this. So I've got, I think it's about 87 words, and I'm going to read this little blurb about us, and then I want your take on this, Shawn, to see if it sounds like us. So this is like a little bit of our origin story. Here we go. So a few years ago, brothers-in-law Nick and Shawn started doing the unthinkable at family gatherings, talking about politics and faith at the dinner table. While at times tense, those conversations were filled with curiosity, nuance, grace, and humor. And wanting to lean into that experience, they decided to start a podcast. Common Good Conversations is a weekly opportunity for Nick and Shawn to talk about the politics and faith of West Michigan by being curious, nuanced, grace-filled, and humorous. And perhaps they'll inspire others along the way. The end.
The end. That seems pretty accurate to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it funny that you in there you say at sometimes it's a little tense.
Tense and cautious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's safe to say, and I'm not calling anybody out, but usually when it gets tense, it's not the two of us.
I totally agree. Yeah, because I'm picturing this in my head, at the dinner table at our in-laws, right? And so it's not just us; it's your wife,
it's
my
the family,
wife,
and certain members of the family. I'm sure, like everybody else's families, get a little revved up sometimes on certain topics, mm-hmm. and that's one thing I've always appreciated about the two of us when we sit down and talk about this stuff. Sometimes we might not be on the same page or be agreeing, but I don't think we ever raise our voices and we don't get pissed.
No, yeah, clear.
Except that I just accept that you're wrong and I walk away.
Yeah, just
your
walk
opinion
away.
Doesn't matter, and I just leave.
Just be like a little child and walk out of the room.
And kick my stones and out I go.
Yeah, but I thought like that little piece by saying like tense, but while at times tense and cautious was really important, because I want it to be clear for our podcast, like for us and for our listeners, is like, hey, when we don't agree with things, like I want there to be space where we can challenge that a bit and then move through it. Like we don't always have to agree with each other. This is not the idea.
No, I in the last year, I believe we ended up we've had a lot of big discussions. I'm sure like a lot of families have over like the last year or so, from the Supreme Court changing the rules on abortion to the whole Bud Light trans
Kid Rock
thing. And those were big discussions around the dinner table, and fun and sometimes tense. Luckily, I never take anything too serious to the point where I'm always where I'll feel like I can't be friends with somebody just because there are some things, but it's very few things that would make you be like, you know what, I'm not talking to this person again because of their opinion or something.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, there's been a lot, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming up, and in the next election cycle.
Oh, for sure.
Where we're going to be like,
for sure.
Okay, did you see what happened yesterday? Let's sit down. Let's talk about this. You know, kind of like yesterday when we were over at the in-laws playing pool, and also was, did you know Joe Gibbs got fired?
John Gibbs.
I'm sorry, John Gibbs. I got the J right.
Well, you know, that's so interesting too, because I mean, we've had a bunch of these conversations now privately, but what I find is that I'm not like the instigator of these things. I'm not the one to bring up politics. It always happens to be somebody else. Like, so first thing when I showed up yesterday, I get a question. Hey, what do you think about John Gibbs? I mean, now everybody knows that I'm involved in political work and like looking at this stuff. But even when we go to the other side of the in-laws, you know, that's, you know, I'm not like coming into the room and saying, hey, did you hear what Trump did? Or did you hear what Biden did? Like, I never do that.
Well, it was just funny yesterday because we were sitting down and watching Full Measure or something. I don't know, whatever's usually on the in-laws, news TV, and they're talking about Gibbs, and I was like, Gibbs got fired. And I was like, oh, and Bill asked, well, what happened? I said, well, just Nick has more information than I do most of the time, so just wait till Nick gets here. So I already put you on the docket to take care of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the in-laws, sometimes there's usually a bit more whiskey flowing on that side of the family.
Yeah.
And we'll get that rolling. And a lot of times I end up kind of poking the bear, stoking the fire, and I walk out of the room.
Yeah.
And then you're there for like an hour.
Because, this is the interesting thing about it. There are strong opinions. I would say not. Yeah, I would say, we have strong opinions, but then we also, when we talk about these things, there are also other strong opinions. But what makes it really fun is that, number one, we're in a like family environment. So everybody knows that we have to see each other again, in some way, shape, or form. But what really makes it fun is that we're always gathered around like food and drink.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, at one place there's there's a whole table set of bourbons galore, and that's because our father-in-law, he knows that you and I really enjoy tasting bourbons, and he's very gracious with that, and I take full advantage of that. And then at the other in-laws, mounds and mounds of food to feed an army. And I'm always thankful for that, and I indulge there. Oh yeah, as well.
You do everything. I try, but I can't. I guess I'm very limited a little bit. There'll be like 3 proteins: a steak, a tenderloin, hamburger, and it's like I'll look at it like a menu at a restaurant and be like, I'm feeling hamburger today. Sorry, I can't do hamburger and tenderloin. I'll just I'll make my one plate like a buffet. Mashed potatoes, fries, maybe a salad, and I'll have the hamburgers, and be like, this is my meal. And then at the end of it, so, eat some more. It's like, I can't eat anymore. There's so much.
Yeah, literally, it's just the 6 adults sitting at the table.
Yeah.
And then we always take home that food, and I think that's the intent. So it's the cook showing the love there for the family, and then taking it home. That's like the gifting. So
yeah,
that's always good. So that's just a little bit about why we started the podcast. This started like right at our in-laws and family environments, and just having this experience of asking questions and working our way through it, knowing that, okay, we don't need to have all the answers right here, but we're asking a lot of questions, and we're just being curious, and then just adding nuance to that. So that was after doing that for like 2.5 years,
something like. I mean, it really got elevated once we hit COVID and stuff, and then you went off on your
started doing the more political work
type thing. Yeah.
Yep. So it was just coming to you and say, hey, Shawn, like I'd really want to start a podcast. I think you and I have had, great conversations. What do you think about doing this together? and
I
talking.
said it was a terrible idea. Terrible idea.
No, yeah, right. You were like, oh, I got all the gear, so
Yeah,
let's
I got
do
all the
it.
stuff. We can make it happen. We can grab my I'll take all my music studio gear and turn it into something else.
That's right. Put it to some good use.
Yep.
So that is a little bit about us and what we hope to bring to this live event, bringing people in. So we'd love for you to join us for our live recording of Common Good Conversations, Sunday, March 24 at Park Theater in Holland from 6 to 8 p.m. with special guest Christian Kleinjans, and then live music from Dan Dietrich. There'll be alcoholic beverages available. Please pay for them yourself. I don't make that much money. Neither does Shawn. Do you?
No.
Okay. And then,
Even if I did.
yeah, then it'd be like, get your own.
Yeah.
Then pizza and soft pretzels for those who get the munchies. How's that?
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
So we hope to see you there, friends. And remember, send us your questions. We want to hear those questions, and because we really want to have you feel bought in and participating with this event. So we'll see you later.
See you guys.